Right now, your executive board is sitting in a conference room reviewing quarterly performance metric. They're looking at the data, praising the efficiency of their new hires, and believing they have successfully built a high-performing biological team. They're living in a mathematically fabricated illusion. A newly released survey of 1,000 US full-time workers has completely shattered the corporate narrative, revealing that 86% of the workforce now uses AI tools. But what they are doing with these tools and exactly what they are concealing from their managers exposes a highly organized, systematic deception happening right beneath the C-suite's nose. Your employees are not just using AI to write emails, they are using it to fake job interviews, artificially inflate their resumes, steal corporate time, and secure fraudulent promotions. Before I deconstruct the brutal mathematics of this new AI workplace audit, and show you exactly how apex operators are weaponizing these tools while amateurs are destroying their own cognitive baselines, hit the subscribe button and press the notification bell. I post daily videos showing you exactly how to navigate the global labor market using cold, hard engineering logic. You do not want to miss these execution protocols. Today, we are going to dismantle the synthetic workforce. I will break down the exact percentages of how workers are lying to their managers, why the guilt phase of AI cheating is officially dead, and why the 40-hour workweek has secretly collapsed. Grab a notebook, it is time to stop operating in the dark and start seeing the corporate matrix for what it truly is. Welcome back, I'm Dr. HR. To understand why my approach to the human capital and artificial intelligence is aggressively different from the comforting, sanitized report you need on LinkedIn, you must understand my underlying architecture. I hold a PhD in a human resource, a master's from prestigious Tata Institute of Social Sciences TISS in Mumbai, and a bachelor's in computer engineering. I do not look at employee as a loyal family member. I look at an employee as an economic agent operating in a high-stake, incentive-driven market. Operating on the ground here in Dubai since 2010, consulting for the apex corporate entities, I have watched the traditional metrics of employees' evaluation completely disintegrate over the last 18 months. We are going to analyze the 5 phases of this collapse based on the hard data: the phantom candidate, the capability prosthetic, the synthetic promotion, algorithmic time theft, and the atrophy trap. Phase 1, the phantom candidate, interview fraud. The modern corporate hiring process is fundamentally broken. The companies believe that they are deploying the sophisticated behavioral algorithms to vet biological talent, but they are actually just wetting API latency. Imagine you are a conductor holding auditions for an elite symphony orchestra. You listen to a flawless performance from behind a screen and immediately hire the violinist, only to discover on opening night that they were simply holding a Bluetooth speaker playing a Spotify track. You hired the hardware, but you thought you were hiring the talent. The new data proves that out of 858 AI using workers surveyed, an astonishing 22% admit to using AI in real time to help them answer questions during a live video job interview. They are utilizing AI whispering, where the machine feeds them the exact answers while they are staring directly into the camera. Even more terrifying for recruiters, 13.6% of those users actually landed the exact job they are currently in by deploying this technique. Mathematically, this means roughly 1 in 7 workers currently sitting at their desks got there with an AI secretly coaching them through the interview. Their employers signed a contract believing they were observing unassisted elite biological performance. In a meaningful share of cases, they were actively being deceived. When we look at the demographic breakdown, the generational spread is far narrower than legacy assumption would suggest. Gen Z workers unsurprisingly lead the pack at 27.9%, with millennials right behind them at 26.9%. But the most counterintuitive finding shatters the stereotype of tech-illiterate older worker. Boomers at 26.6% actually outpaces Gen X, which sits at 16.2%. This suggests that interview fraud is not purely a function of our technical comfort, but a fundamental shift in the behavioral ethics across the entire market. Furthermore, Men are significantly more likely to deploy this algorithmic advantage than women, sitting at 26.4% versus 17.5%. As Andre Couture, a career expert at Novoresume.com, accurately diagnosed, the job interview used to be an absolute last checkpoint employer possessed against resume inflation. AI whispering allows candidates to synthesize a level of performance that they possess no biological capacity to sustain once they log onto the company server. The modern video interviews is no longer a test of human competence, it is a test of algorithmic audio routing. Phase 2, the Capability Prosthetic resume inflation. You are currently authorizing six-figure salaries for professional skills that exist entirely outside of your employee's brain. It is the operational equivalent of hiring a master carpenter to build a luxury estate, only to discover on day one that he can only drive a nail if an autonomous robot holds the hammer for him. If the power grid goes down, the carpenter is structurally useless. The credentials inflation problem does not begin at the interview stage. It begins at the very genesis of the application. The data reveals that 27.2% of the AI-using workers have listed specific skills on their resume or LinkedIn profile that can only execute with significant active AI assistance. For a highly concerning 13.1% of AI users, this totally reliance applies to multiple skills, not just a single outlier. The generational divide here is sharp and severe. More than a third of the young workforce, 36.8% of Gen Z and 35% of millennials, have these completely AI-independent skills hard-coded into their professional profile. The figure drops to 18.5% for Gen X and 15.1% for boomers. The gender gap remains pronounced, with 33.5% of male AI users inflating their profile in this manner compared to only 19.5% of female AI users. We must classify this behavior accurately. This is not a traditional, harmless resume paddling where a candidate uses vague buzzwords like synergy or leadership. These are hard technical skills listed as real biological competencies, but the worker can only demonstrate them if AI is actively running alongside them. Andre Couture perfectly defines this not as a productivity tool, but as a capability prosthetic. If the software license is revoked or the internet connection drops, a massive portion of their stated professional qualification evaporates into thin air. Hiring managers currently possess absolutely no reliable mechanism to test for this prosthetic reliance, which is exactly why it has become so deeply embedded in the corporate ecosystem. You're not hiring an industry expert, you're renting an API subscription disguised as a human being. Phase 3, the synthetic promotion and the transparency gap. Corporate advancement has been completely decoupled from biological effort. You are actively promoting and rewarding the machine while the human takes the salary increase. Think of an elite marathon where the winner is handed a gold medal and a massive cash prize. But nobody in the grandstand realized they ran the final 20 miles on a hidden, silent electric scooter. The applause from the executive is real, but the operational achievement is a completely synthetic illusion. Once the capability prosthetic gets the worker through the door, the deception scales. A staggering 37.4% of AI-using workers admit to submitting work to their employer that was fully or almost fully created by an AI with only minimal human editing. Nearly 1 in 10, 9%, execute this behavior regularly, and another 14.7% has done it several times. And Gen Z are the apex offender in this category, with 44.8% and 42.6% respectively submitting fully AI-generated deliverable. Gen X and Boomers sit lower at 29.6% and 28.3%, but that still represent more than 1 in 4 senior employees passing off synthetic labor as their own. By gender, 44.6% of the male AI users execute this compared to 28.8% of female AI users, a massive 15-point operational gap. Because the volume of this behavior is so high, the structural consequences are violently compounding. The output gets delivered, the middle manager blindly approves it, and 15.3% of AI using workers have actually received a corporate promotion based at least partly on work that the AI helped create. For Gen Z, the promotion rate spiked to an unbelievable 26.5%. Workers are being evaluated, financially rewarded, and moved up the corporate hierarchy based on an output that do not reflect their underlying biological abilities. Simultaneously, a massive transparency gap protects this dynamic. Nearly 1 in 4 AI users, 21.6%, admit their managers have absolutely no idea how much AI they utilize, and another 1% are actively hiding it. An additional 30.5% says their managers knows they use it, but is completely blind to the actual volume. Only 46.9%, fewer than half, state their managers knows everything. Most dangerously, 7.6% of users, or 1 in 13, have directly and intentionally lied to their manager when questioned about it. Boomers are surprisingly the most passive-aggressive in this opacity, with 30.2% saying their managers has no idea, while Gen Z has the highest transparency rate at 50%. When a company executes a promotion based on a synthetic output, they are investing a long-term corporate equity into a ghost. Phase 4, Algorithmic Time Theft. The sovereign executive sits in a boardroom and confidently declared that AI is drastically increasing their corporate output. The raw data proves the exact opposite. AI is actively decreasing corporate labor hours while the output remains completely flat. The employees are quietly pocketing the margin. Imagine inventing a highly advanced automated tractor that plows a massive agriculture field in 1 hour instead of 10. The farmer does not decide to plow 10 fields to maximize the farm's yield. He plows 1 field, spends the next 9 hours sleeping in the barn, and still bills a landowner for a full day of grueling physical labor. This is algorithmic time theft. The survey confirmed that 47% of the AI-using workforce have utilized the technology to finish their task faster, specifically so that they can spend their remaining on-clock corporate hours on personal activities while their employers completely unaware. But when we analyze the power users, the 42.9% of workers who deploy the AI multiple times a day, the behavior intensifies sharply. Of these heavy users, a massive 66.6% use AI to finish work early and steal the remaining time for themselves. The deeper the technology embeds into their workflow, the more it fundamentally reshapes their relationship with the concept of the 8-hour workday. Millennials lead this structural time theft at 54.7%, followed by a Gen Z at 48.5%, Gen X at 40.2%, and the Boomers at 30.8%. Once again, the gender gap is absolute. Men sit at 54.8% compared to the women at 37.8%. Male workers are consistently more likely to use AI deceptively, more likely to submit generated work, and more likely to aggressively reclaim their time. The corporation signed a contract paying for an 8-hour daily bandwidth extraction, but the apex operator only surrendered. Phase 5, the Atrophy Trap and the ethical end state. The workforce is quietly and systematically degenerating. While employees celebrate their reclaimed time and synthetic promotions, they are fundamentally destroying their own long-term market value. It is the biological equivalent of an Olympic track athlete choosing to drive an electric golf cart around a stadium every single day. Yes, you cross the finish line faster than anyone else, and you barely speak and you barely break a sweat. But your muscles are slowly, irreversibly wasting away until one day, the golf cart breaks down and you realize you no longer possesses the physical capacity to walk. This is an atrophy trap. The long-term cost of this absolute reliance is already manifesting in the data. Nearly 1 in 5 AI-using worker, which is 18.8%, openly admit that they have noticed their professional biological skill getting worse or rusty since they start using AI regularly. And terrifying 3% state they have definitely lost skills they used to possess. This skill erosion hits the youngest generation the hardest. The Gen Z reported 23.5% atrophy rate and warns that this skills atrophy is no longer a theory. Job seekers are experiencing it firsthand. Yet, despite the fraud, the lying, and the cognitive decay, guilt is entirely absent from the corporate ecosystem. A massive 58.5% of AI users state they will feel absolutely no guilt about their AI use. 30.2% actually feel smart for being more efficient, and 23.7% feels proud. Only 10.1% feel like they are cheating, and a mere 4.9% feels like an imposter. The ethical debate is over. The workforce has completely made its peace with deception. Even the 142 surveyed non-user remain defiant. 94.4% of them feels no disadvantage compared to their AI using peer, and 21.8% actually believe they hold a strategic advantage. Why? Because the 27.5% of these non-users look at their AI-reliant co-workers and conclude that they are simply being dishonest about their true capabilities. Do not sacrifice your foundational cognitive baseline for a temporary afternoon off. A rusty operator is mathematically destined to become an obsolete operator. Look closely at the mechanics of the digital labor market around you. The metric you rely on to judge competence, effort, and output have been completely subverted. 1 in 7 workers faked their interview. 1 in 4 are lying on their resumes, and 47% are stealing back their contracted time. The system is not evolving, it is engaged in a silent, high-stakes game of algorithmic arbitrage. If you are an employer, you must instantly rewrite your evaluation architecture. You must stop measuring the polished final output and start measuring the isolated biological capacity of the individual in zero-trust, air-gapped environment. If you are an employee, you must walk a razor-thin line. Use the machine to accelerate your comprehension, but never allow it to become a capability prosthetic. The moment you list a skill you cannot execute without a server connection, you have surrendered your professional sovereignty. Process the data, execute the strategy, and I'll see you at the top.